As tensions continue to rise in the Middle East, President Trump has issued a dire warning to the Iranian leaders that if they do not agree to his demands, he will send Bruce Springsteen to perform in their country. Trump told the IRGC in no uncertain terms that if the Strait of Hormuz is not fully reopened, U.S. military forces will load Springsteen onto a helicopter, fly him over to Iran, and deploy him to play a massive show in the streets of Tehran.
Frankly, I don't want to send Bruce over there. I love the Iranian people. No one should be hurt like that. But this is war. War is ugly, like Rosie O'Donnell, very ugly. This is your final warning.
Human rights attorneys denounced the move, saying that forcing anyone to listen to Bruce Springsteen's music amounts to a war crime.
Sending the boss to perform for an innocent civilian population is a clear violation of the Geneva Conventions as written. Well, just put yourself in the shoes of an Iranian. He's going about his day in Tehran, and all of a sudden a man with a guitar shows up, and he's just playing Dancing in the Dark. I mean, that would scare anybody, especially someone from the third world.
For their part, the Iranian people responded to the news by openly weeping in the streets and tearing their clothes, begging Trump not to go through with the attack.
خواهش میکنم این کار وحشتناک رو نکنید. سر رهبران ما خالی کنید. ما رو مجبور نکنید به موسیقی پیرمرد شیطان سفید گوش بدیم.
نه اسپرینگتین، هر کسی جز اسپرینگتین، کیتی پری رو بفرستید، بیلی آیلیش رو بفرستید، اصلا یوتو رو بفرستید. اونا حتی میتونن فقط آهنگای آلبوم پاپ رو اجرا کنن. ما برامون مهم نیست. ما تسلیم نخواهیم شد. مهم نیست بروس اسپرینگستن چند تا ترانه بخونه. ما
Coming up next, UK authorities have issued a stern warning to their citizens to stop being stabbed by the Muslims.
Somewhere in the bowels of a city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Voxtradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Straight ahead, Dr. Chris Palmer, Rear Admiral Peter Brown, Steve Collins from Prison Fellowship, Patrice Onwuka, Scott Phelps, sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and the Puppet Regime, and musical guests Zaggy in the Spotlight. And now from Times Square, where we're playing Who Had the Worst Week, was it Scott Pelley who torched the rest of his credibility at CBS? Or John Bolton, who learned that classified documents are not souvenirs? Here's that comment!
We've got some breaking news to start the show with. We normally do. It's just turning into a regular everyday thing. And I want to start this out by saying, you know, it's one of those situations where I had a feeling about a guy for a long time. And I'm talking about former Ambassador John Bolton. He was kind of a snaky little guy. He wouldn't return phone calls. His people were always like mysterious on the phone about, you know, whether or not he would come on shows or whatever. And then when President Trump put him in the cabinet, I thought, well, he must be a pretty straightforward guy because Trump suffers no fools on this kind of stuff. And then we saw what he did to President Trump, stabbed him in the back, said all kinds of horrible things about him, tried to run against him for president in the next cycle. That didn't work out so well. And it turns out that today he's pled guilty to retaining classified information. 60 months in prison, $2.25 million in fines. Friends, that's not because he spilled ice cream on the carpet. He retained things he wasn't supposed to retain, and one of the charges is that he transmitted some of that classified information. Now, conservatives will look like complete hypocrites if we sit here and we get all torqued about Jim Comey and Hillary Clinton and the 33,000 emails, and the bathtub server in Colorado and all the other junk that went with that, and we don't call out our own guy on doing the same thing. John Bolton did not act honorably with his right to classified information. And in fact, it appears because he pled guilty to it, he acted criminally with classified information. And John Bolton's one of those guys that's in the forever war camp. He's one of those guys. This is the guy that Tucker Carlson should be going after. John Bolton's the guy that Megyn Kelly should be irritated with. They shouldn't be irritated with Governor Huckabee. They shouldn't be irritated with Donald Trump. They shouldn't be irritated even with Bibi Netanyahu. John Bolton's the guy. Because he was part of those administrations that launched us into 14 years of war in Afghanistan. He's one of those guys that got us into looking for weapons of mass destruction, that if they were there, they weren't where we thought they were, et cetera, et cetera. I still think that they actually did have some and they got out. But this is the guy that was waving the flag on all of that, saying this is a must do. And I'm pretty sure he was pretty happy when he heard that we were going to hold Iran accountable, because he had been advocating for war against Iran for a really long time. But I'm not surprised in the least that this came out. 5 years in prison, and up to $2.25 million in fines that he could face. From on or about April 9th of 2018 through at least on or about August 22nd of 2025, Bolton abused his position as National Security Advisor by sharing more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as NSA, including information relating to the national defense, which was classified up to the top secret SCI level, with 2 unauthorized individuals. He unlawfully retained documents, writings, and notes relating to the national defense, including information classified up to top secret and SCI. The documents, according to the indictment, revealed intelligence about future attacks by an adversarial group in another country, a liaison partner sharing sensitive information with the U.S. intelligence community, and intelligence that a foreign adversary was planning a missile launch in the future. A litany of other top secret information was also included. FBI investigated and revealed that Bolton allegedly transmitted top secret information using personal online accounts and retained said documents in his house in direct violation of federal law. This according to the FBI. Friends, you don't get to stay in positions of extreme importance if you're not accountable. We just can't let you do it. And again, if we're gonna go hard on Hillary Clinton and say, oh, the 33,000 emails that she lost, and she thought that wiping a server meant with a rag, and give her a hard time about the server that was in the shower stall in the Colorado bathroom, super secure there. If we're gonna go all in on her for making those errors in judgment, we have to do the same for John Bolton. A forever war industry guy, and not a in my own experience with him, he's not been a nice guy. I've tried to work with him through media and stuff, and his people have always been a little weird, a little standoffish. I don't know, maybe McCullough's just too straight speaking and too honest and whatever, and they don't like that. But he had a lot of knowledge, but he didn't act responsibly with it, and this is the result of that. And this is what's, and he's gonna need to. I mean, I don't see him ever having a future in the public policy space again. Probably the best that he can hope for is teaching, history at a university somewhere, which he probably would be pretty good at. But the deal-making snake that, and I hope people don't forget how nasty he was to Donald Trump in his book. Had pretended when he was part of the administration that he was that he had seen the light, that he wasn't going to be about forever wars anymore, and that he was going to advise the president on the straight and narrow and the best way forward and all the rest. And as soon as he's out of office, he drops a book with nasty accusations, nasty narratives and stories, and things that other people flat out said were not true. So, happy John Bolton Day at the FBI. This is what you get. And you know what's really astounding about this? You know who didn't mishandle classified information? You know who was accused of it, had his house raided, had everybody in the world accusing him of it on national television newscasts? Was his old boss, the guy that's president again. He was accused of all of the stuff, and he didn't mishandle anything.
Now, back to that Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com for all things related. And another congratulations to those of you who have helped thatkevinshow.com. In the month of May, we set a brand new record for the most traffic ever. So thank you for coming through and using all the stuff we have there. We work really hard to have the podcasts and the columns and everything posted there so that it's never behind a paywall and you have access to it absolutely at no cost. Because what I want to do is I want to help impact the conversation that impacts the culture. And the more resources I can give you, whether it's my opinion or whether it's things I've read or things that we're talking about on the show, I feel like that's of huge benefit. And Dr. Chris Palmer's new book, A World Without God, I think is one of those resources that you need to know about. The subtitle is The Search for Meaning in a Society Overwhelmed by Despair. He's a scholar, author, and ministry practitioner, but he's also the dean of the Barnett College of Ministry and Theology at Southeastern University in Florida, formerly Southeastern Bible College in Birmingham, Alabama. If you go back all the way to my dad's generation, where he was an alum, that's where they were located. But we love what SEU is doing. Chris, welcome aboard. We have some crossed paths, not only with Southeastern, but you're also a Moody guy, where I was educated theologically, and you were in one of the remote campuses. I was actually in the Chicago campus. But it's a joy to have you with us. I got to ask you about the concept of your book, because every day I talk about what it is like for believers, for people of conscience, for people of really strong belief to live in a world that is just so, I don't know, it's everything's a transaction, everything is temporary, everything, nothing is permanent, everything seems to be in transition all the time. And I think that all of that contributes to what you call a society overwhelmed by despair. And I don't think you have to look very far into the data to see that that's the case, that we don't have time to be quiet, still, have meaningful relationships, conversations, connections with other people. And if that's true of our horizontal relationship, it's got to be true of our vertical relationship as well. But that's kind of my take on where we are. What was the impetus for you to write this book?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Kevin. I had gotten to a place where, I'm a millennial, so 2006, social media comes out, and I think everybody was wondering what's going to be the long-term effect of having constant exposure to constant information all of the time. And then, the iPhone comes out in 2006, and we become obsessed with our screens. And it's fun for a while. Nobody really knows how to use it. We just start posting pictures of our friends, and then social media begins to develop into making short form content and reels. And then before you know it, a decade later, we're glued to our phones and information begins to come at us, a lot faster than we're actually able to process it. And we've seen that sort of the way that information has sped up has become very damaging to our well-being, our relationships, and quite frankly, our souls. And I think we're starting to see more neuroses in our culture. And a lot of it has to do with this modernization, which is the peak of it, I think, at this point, is social media, AI, and we're asking ourselves bigger questions, I think, that have a lot to do with meaning and purpose. I was sitting in my office one day and I had my own existential, meandering about, watching AI do a lot of the things that I used to do, and then asking myself, why do I exist? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And here we are about to colonize Mars, so it's said. And even if we did that, what would be the point? What would we teach our children? What would we pass on now that we've gotten to Mars? If that happens, then what? And so I think we're advancing in technology, but we're no closer to answering questions as a society as to why. What's the purpose of my being? And I think a lot of that despair comes out in the way that people engage social media. And in the book, I talk a lot about what is called gallows humor. It's the despairing type of dark humor that kind of boils me down to an animal and pathetic. And, I've done a good job if I can get out of bed in the morning, and that's about it. And life has become sort of passively nihilistic, quietly agnostic. And we're trying to work through these challenges. And I wrote the book because I wanted pastors to be aware, as a ministry practitioner myself, these are the things that we should be speaking to in the pulpit and around those people that we have influence with.
You've just unpacked so much that we could spend literally 2 or 3 days going through it point by point. But I want to hit on something that you said right in the middle of it, and that is that, because something that I say on this show all the time is that I believe there's a deficit in our emotional maturity, in our development as people, in our relationships with one another, and certainly in our development of a relationship with God, in the reality that we don't ask the big questions anymore. We don't have time to ask the big questions anymore. People are so glued to not just their screen, but their agenda. And AI, while it's a blessing in so many ways, it's condensing. What it's doing is it's not creating greater leisure for people. It's condensing more work into less time, and the stress level, I feel like, is going up on folks because they feel like they should be doing more than they were before. And I'm not a tech poo-pooer. Like I don't think that technology is something that we have to be afraid of or that we should be worried about in terms of its existence. I just think as believers, we need to have a really honest, biblical, God-centric, gospel-centric understanding of who we are in relationship to it, and then live our lives like that so that we can be, on some level, an influence to others as well. And I'm hopeful that what happens because of that is that when people do reach that despair, they turn to the church and they say, hey, what do you guys have that we don't? But, this isn't new. Paul addressed churches in the New Testament that were asking the big questions. They were asking, who am I? Why am I here? What is the meaning of life? How do I live because of that? So in your thesis on this, I'm sure you drill down on the problem for a good bit, but where do you see, if you see a solution, where do you see that beginning, especially for the church to play a role in?
Yeah, so the book is sort of a reductio ad absurdum, and it's going to consider a world without God. And we move through 12 chapters, 11 of, I would say the first 10 of them being pretty despairing, and that's supposed to be felt that way. The book has a literary component to it. It's a journey through a town called Novemberton. Novemberton is a sickness of the soul. It comes from Moby Dick in Herman Melville's book, Moby Dick, where Ishmael in the first chapter says that he feels the November of the soul, and he sets out to sail and go, hunting for whales. And that November of the soul, I think, is the symptom, and we're trying to work through that. And so I wanted the reader to feel the moral collapse of a world without God, the inability to make any sort of moral structure and have a society that has really any purpose to it other than just going through and handing. In the process of it, you're handing your decisions to technology. And so you begin to feel less human, more empowered, more informed, and less human throughout the process.
Chris, I wish we had more time. I'm out of time today, but thank you for doing this. And please come back. I want to have a regular conversation with you about some of these issues that you raise, because I feel like the conversation is too important not to have.
Thank you for having me on, Kevin. It was a pleasure.
You got it.
for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, and very glad to have you with us. You know, we talk with KT McFarland once a week. We're getting kind of the inside of, the administration's thinking in terms of what's going on in Iran. But when it comes to foreign policy as a whole, there's a lot more happening besides just Iran or even Ukraine and Russia and those hotspots. In fact, if you were watching the cabinet meeting last week that the president held in the White House, you would have been floored if you did not know any of the stuff that they were working on and what they were accomplishing. Here to discuss is retired Rear Admiral Peter Brown, Senior Fellow, Western Hemisphere Security Maritime Affairs for the America First Policy Institute, one of my favorite groups. Admiral, always good to see you. I do think that when you look at Venezuela, when you look at Cuba, when you look at the way that's impacted Russia and China in the hemisphere, when you look at any number of items related to natural resources and so forth, there's been a fundamental realignment in global power, and it's away from China and towards the U.S., and nothing demonstrates that better than what's going on in our hemisphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me back, Kevin. It's always great to talk to you, and especially to talk with someone who understands that there's a lot of things happening kind of below the surface of the daily news feed, but that are actually vitally important to the safety, security, and the economy of the United States and the entire Western Hemisphere. And as you point out, every one of these moves is not only a positive move in the direction of the interests of the United States, but it's a pushback against those extra hemispheric actors. Mostly China, but also Russia and Iran still have their toes in our own hemisphere, and the U.S. is pushing them out with President Trump and Secretary of State dual-hatted as National Security Advisor Marco Rubio. The progress has absolutely been remarkable.
Talk to us about what we've accomplished.
Oh my goodness. Well, the easiest place to start is Venezuela, because that's where the action was the most visible and pointy in a lot of ways. But what happened was before January 3rd of 2026, so it's January 20th of 2025, the administration was taking a number of actions, each one of which should have been considered as a signal by the Maduro regime that President Trump, unlike predecessors, was very serious about reducing and ultimately eliminating drug trafficking, crime, corruption, and foreign influence in our hemisphere. And so from the buildup of military forces, the strikes against narcotic smuggling vessels, what I call the proxy militias of our chief foreign adversary, and then ultimately the seizing of Venezuelan state oil to place its profit to the benefit of the Venezuelan people, and ultimately the indictment and removal of Maduro to face justice in the United States. And that same strategy, with a different pattern of tactics, is playing out in other capitals in the hemisphere, certainly in Havana, to some extent in Mexico City. And we've already seen on the positive side, places like Bolivia, Ecuador, Chile, Argentina, all moving ideologically and economically in the direction of the United States and pushing back against the predations of China.
Well, and that's so important on so many different levels, but the realignment of the globe, more or less, around American energy is going to be one of the pieces of leverage that not only this president should use, but presidents going forward. I'm a little concerned that the other side, should they ever get the White House again, and they most likely will at some point, has too dim a view of just what we've accomplished. But when you talk about energy dominance, we're not just talking about the fact that we're doubling in our own production output Russia and Saudi Arabia in terms of energy supplies, but now the Venezuelan and likely on some level Iranian future supplies will also be controlled on some level in our hands. What does that do to China?
What that does, it makes China even less capable of applying economic and diplomatic pressure to kind of smaller and less economically resourced countries, including here in our own hemisphere. Just a couple months ago, I was on a cruise with my wife in the Eastern Caribbean, and we saw in a number of countries, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua, and we've seen it elsewhere, the diplomatic pressure that China is putting on these smaller nations. They do it wrapped up nicely in construction projects and infrastructure, refurbishing a hospital. But we heard directly from the people in some of these countries that they know that their government has given up something, but they don't know what that something is. Absolutely.
Retired Admiral Peter Brown, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. It's great to chat with you again. I look forward to the next opportunity.
You got it. Kevin McCullough coming back from New York. Don't go away.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back, Kevin McCullough. Glad to have you with us. That Kevin Show. We are talking about young people and having their lives completely transformed, turned upside down in the best way possible through Angel Tree Camp. And it is a vision of Prison Fellowship, which was started by Chuck Colson many years ago, to not only help parents not be recidivists, but if they are convicted of a crime, actually have their lives redeemed, find Jesus, start over, begin again, have a new birth. I've read something about that in the New Testament. I think that's pretty biblical. But not only that, because of the damage that's been done to these families from the criminal behavior, from the activity, they want to help try to put these families back together again. And the Angel Tree program, that's really the focus of it. It's to make sure the kids are not forgotten by their parent. It's to make sure that the kids know that God loves them more than their parent does. And it's to bring together a redeemed heart in the life of the parent and a redeemed heart in the life of the child. And friends, reconciliation can happen out of that. And this can be a family reconciliating program that just does a world of good, not only stopping the cycle of crime, but going on to accomplish good things. Steve Collins is back with us. And Steve, you've been the senior camp director for Angel Tree for a while, and I know that every kid that comes in has a story, but there are some that stand out, I'm sure. So talk to me about one that may have gotten your attention or tugged at your heart as it played out with Angel Tree camping.
Yeah, thank you. I have one particular story that comes to mind. I was able last year to actually talk with a former Angel Tree camper, and he was very kind to let me share his story. And his name is Jediah. And Jediah, when he was a child, his father was incarcerated. He lived with his grandmother. The father signed Jediah up for Angel Tree Christmas. So Jediah was able to receive that Christmas gift on behalf of his incarcerated father, along with the gospel message and a note from his father, and it helped build that connection. And then he found out about Angel Tree camping, that he could attend camp on a scholarship, and so Jediah's grandmother signed him up for the camp that he wanted to go to, and so that was probably mid-spring that he signed up for camp, and then tragedy struck. Jediah's father passed away just about a month before Jediah was scheduled to go to camp. And his grandmother was naturally hesitant, like, should I still send him away to camp when his father just died? And Jediah shared with me he was very closed off during this time. You know, he did not know how to really process the grief that he was experiencing. His grandmother asked him if he still wanted to go to camp, and he was willing to give it a try. The grandmother called the camp to explain the situation, said, do you think he would be okay? And the camp said, we will take really good care of him and we'll be attentive and we'll let you know if it doesn't work out. You can always pick him up. So Jediah went to camp. He got there. There was lots of energy, lots of fun taking place, but Jediah, feeling very closed off, just kind of sat down alone by himself. One of the camp counselors saw this happening, so he went over and sat down beside him and just kind of started talking with him and connecting with him right where he was at, and helping to build some trust and to embrace camp. And so during this camp week, they have actually a very special time. During the camp week, they build a small stone wall, and all the kids at camp are able to add a stone to that wall to symbolize something that they've lost or something that they're leaving behind at camp. And so Jediah knew, his big thing was he had lost his father, and so he added a stone to that wall, and he kind of announced what that stone represented and shared with the people around him his grief. And in that moment, he was able to open up and really share all of the pain and the heartache that he was experiencing. And this camp community came around him and supported him and prayed with him. And it was just a real breakthrough moment. Now, Jediah later shared with me that week at camp had done more for him than months of therapy had done before and after camp, because it was just a transformational moment for him at camp. And so he went back to camp the next year and went back again and is working his way up through their junior leadership program so that he was actually able to be a counselor at camp last summer. And so it's just a beautiful story about how camp can reach a child in the deepest, darkest place and really minister to the needs that they have.
Yeah, wow. Friends, that is a real snapshot of what your gift launches. Your gift is the starting point. It's the thing that flips the light switch on so that the light can come on in these kids' lives. And without it, the light stays off. So that's my plea. Would you turn the light switch on for a child so that they can find Jesus this summer, just like Jediah did? Here's how you do it. Go to, and we don't have a phone number that's working reliably at present, so I'm gonna ask you to disregard any phone number I may have mentioned in the past, and just go to the website. And I know that some of you don't like to go to the website, so please try it anyway, because it's so important that we do everything we can to get these kids there. But go to thatkevinshow.com, thatkevinshow.com, and click the banner at the top of the page. For $200, one child can go to camp. $200, one child can go to camp. And friends, obviously, if you can do like a $2,000 gift, you're going to help 10 kids find Jesus this summer. If you could do a multiple of even that, you'd help even more. But my plea with you is, will you help at least one child this summer find Jesus through Angel Tree Camp? And at the same time, in many instances, it did not work out in Jediah's case, but in many instances, you're bringing back together a child and a parent in a way that is true reconciliation. The parent is incarcerated, but this is a way that they can tell their child that they're loved, they're not forgotten, they're still remembered, and it's just so powerful. Please, please, please go to the website, thatkevinshow.com, and click the banner at the top of the page. It takes about 2 minutes to make that happen, and when it's done, there's another kid taken off my list and ready to go to camp this summer. Thatkevinshow.com, thatkevinshow.com, all one word, thatkevinshow.com, and click the Angel Tree banner at the top of the page. Kevin McCullough, very glad to have you with us. Coming right back from New York. Don't go away.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back. They've been with us for the last 5 years, every year, with a new song in the New Music Spotlight. Don't call them Zach and Maggie anymore. Zach and Maggie White, known as Zaggy with Parking Lot.
Well, hello, Mrs. Breeze. It's been too many weeks since I felt you gently kiss my cheek. Watch you dance with the trees, grab a couple of leaves and twirl them round this sunny street. You catch the corners of me As you pull them I see my reflection with a smile so sweet. So I melt in this spot, lose my mind of all thought, and take a small vacation here in this parking lot. Well, I've been running around, moving all about town, trying to check off every this or that. I may love this sweet life, but I fear sometimes I'm just running to a finish line. So right now as I wait, I'll just contemplate the aroma of sweet summertime. Little 4x4 yacht, maybe all that I got, but I'll take a small vacation here in this parking lot. I was early for them, that's fine for me 'cause I could wait. Thought I'd plan out my week, figure out what to eat, or organize these old receipts. Then my mindset was changed, my needs rearranged. I'm thinking now I'm gonna be late. What a gift just to stop in this moment I got to take a small vacation here in this parking lot. I'll take a small vacation here in this parking lot.
Soundtrack. Search hashtag New Music Spotlight on Spotify or Apple Music.
Actor Mark Hamill got the surprise of his life this week after President Donald Trump revealed that he is, in fact, Hamill's father. According to White House insiders, Trump was in the process of negotiating a trade deal with Cloud City officials on the gas giant Bespin. He was closing in on a tremendous deal to secure Tabana gas for America's strategic reserves. Suddenly, Hamill burst into the room and began confronting Mr. Trump, calling him names like Space Hitler and Space Voldemort. The shocking revelations about Hamill's parentage followed, and we've obtained exclusive footage of that confrontation.
I'll never join you!
The liberal media never told you what happened to your father.
They told me enough. They told me your COVID policies killed him.
No, I am your father.
No! No! That's not true! That's misinformation!
Search your Twitter feed. You know it to be true.
In the days following the shocking moment, Trump traveled to Naboo, where he instituted a trade blockade, which he says is perfectly legal and the biggest, most beautiful trade blockade in the galaxy. Coming up next, Darth Vader's security protocols are under scrutiny after he accidentally added Admiral Akbar to a military holochat planning the bombing of Alderaan.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Still to come, Patrice Onwuka from the Independent Women's Forum. Scott Phelps talking about Turning Points Educational Summit. More sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and the Puppet Regime. And they're not just musical artists, but also guests. Tonight, Zaggy returns to the spotlight. And now from Times Square, where Scott Pelley may have delivered the most unhinged off-air tantrum in CBS history, but John Bolton may be headed for the most expensive game of Was It Worth It ever recorded. Here's Evan!
For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough. Iran says it may reopen the Strait of Hormuz after discovering President Trump was apparently serious about blockading it. In related news, the Ayatollahs are now reportedly applying for emotional support goats and asking Qatar if sorry counts as legal tender. Meanwhile, New Jersey taxpayers are now on the hook for $12 million defending illegal immigrants from deportation. State officials say it's all about compassion because apparently in New Jersey, if you break into the country illegally, you get free lawyers. But if you mispark on the curb in Hoboken, they tow your car straight into the Atlantic Ocean. Out in California, Republicans Steve Hilton and Spencer Pratt are slipping behind Democrats after the latest ballot drop. Though election experts remain optimistic, there are still at least 17 Prius trunks and 14 yoga studios left to count. And finally, Sydney Sweeney and Scooter Braun were spotted looking cozy on the streets of New York. Witnesses say the chemistry was undeniable, while millions of men nationwide simultaneously volunteered to become whatever it is that Scooter Braun does to actually earn a living. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough.
Junior, I told you I'm not going to your wedding because of a thing called Iran, all right? I'll go to the next one. Okay, bye. It's like people don't understand how busy I am these days. Zelensky, sorry, I can't deal with this. I got a thing called Iran. Taiwan, hi, yeah. No, sorry, I need those weapons for a thing called Iran. Take you on a date? A date? Melania, I got a thing called Iran. Ah, geez, not this guy again. Hello?
Donald, it's Beatty. Quit stalling. It's time to do the thing.
What thing?
The thing you've been talking about.
Oh, that thing. Well, you see, the thing is, I got a thing.
Another thing?
A thing called Cuba.
Puppet Regime.
President Woman, why did you bomb Ohio?
I saw a spider there!
If we continue to pump CO2 into the atmosphere, temperatures could rise worldwide.
Order all industries to produce even more CO2.
Why?
Because I'm cold.
President Woman, did I do something to upset you?
I'm fine.
You don't seem fine. You cut off all trade with us.
Maybe I just don't feel like trading with you anymore.
I'm sorry for whatever it is I did wrong.
I said I'm fine!
It's that time of month again. This could mean nuclear war.
Don't worry, I put the launch codes in a pickle jar.
Come on, I want to nuke them! No! I love them. Let's increase their foreign aid.
The deficit has gotten out of control. We need to cut something.
I can't think of anything we can cut. I guess we'll have to raise taxes.
The streets will run red with the blood of Americans!
Why are you yelling at me?
We're at war! Hey, don't cry. I surrender. War is over.
President Woman, you need to pick an economics plan.
Ew, this one is all numbers and math. I like this one. It's pretty.
That one is full communism.
It will destroy this country.
It's got a puppy on it. Don't let them underestimate you just because you're a woman. You've got this.
Thanks, old lady.
Okay, so our next candidate for our new children's pastor is a guy named Hassan. I have been looking over his resume. It is flawless. Okay, we are lucky to see him, and I hear he is interviewing at a few churches in town, so we gotta snag him up.
Perfect. You know what? I've never done an interview before, but I'm ready.
Yeah,
Let's
we
do it.
gotta compete.
Bring him in.
I'll go get him.
Hey.
Hi, welcome in, welcome in.
Come on, brother.
It's nice to meet you. You can take a seat right there. Wow, wow, wow. Diversity. Hi. So we have been looking over your resume, and wow, it is impressive. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm super passionate about working with children, and I have 15 years of experience. I am Somali.
Somalian.
Huh.
Oh my goodness, I love Akon. What a talented artist. Mogadishu, the capital city, beautiful. I've never been in person, but I have seen some high definition pictures. And
Yeah, and tell us why you relocated to Springfield.
My job, it basically ended up ending very abruptly, very surprisingly.
This economy.
And so, yeah, my family just happened to move down here from Minneapolis.
Minneapolis?
Beautiful summers. I mean, oh my goodness, it's like God's country down there. It looks like you have a lot of experience with kids.
Yeah, I ran a daycare center, so it was...
Okay, all right. So let me get this straight. You're from Somalia.
Yeah.
And you just moved down here from Minneapolis.
Correct.
Where you ran a daycare center that got shut down abruptly, and
Here are
you're
my boxes.
applying for the job. As children's pastor of Springfield First, do I have that correct? It sounds like those kids are really leering a lot.
Yes, they
at
are.
the calls at the daycare center.
Daycare center.
That you were there was a real daycare
Learning
center.
a lot. They were learning a lot. It's like, how did God move all of these Mogadishu mountains for you to end up in this office, you know?
Yeah. You know what, Nick? Surely this is part of God's plan.
Surely it is. I just have one question for you.
Yes.
When can you start? We just found our children's pastor.
What? No. You have a second?
Sure.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Now, back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com for all things related to the show. Never behind a paywall. We appreciate you checking it out. And we're thankful that in the month of April and going into May, you gave us record traffic for the month. We've never had as many people come to the site as you did in the month of April. And I don't even know why that is, but I'm just glad that we did, and let's keep that going. You've heard me talk this week about the affordability issue, the war, all the things that the administration's doing. They're all connected. They're all intricately kind of associated with each other, but nothing is probably more important to what I'm hearing from voters than what is being colloquially called affordability. And even my own bride, who was talking about just a couple of days ago, when are gas prices going to start correcting? And I said, babe, it's going to happen when the war is dealt with and settled. But even in the cabinet meeting this week, the president making clear we are at all-time production highs on liquid natural gas and self-production of oil. So what does affordability look like? My next guest says it will be the number one issue in the elections. Patrice Onwuka is back with us, chief economist for the Independent Women's Forum. And I just have to say again, thank you, Patrice, for hosting me and letting me come and bring the show to y'all's summit and gala a couple of weeks ago. What an amazing day. What an amazing night. But I'm not off on this, and my election instincts are rather good. I have a long track record of kind of really having my finger on the pulse. This is going to, if we do not deal with Iran with a decisive victory that is clear and complete, I think by no later than July 4th. I think I wanted it to be done by Memorial Day, but by no later than July 4th, the domino effect of what that does to oil production, refinement, gas prices, availability, all the rest of it starts to back up into the fall schedule. And if we're still paying $4 a gallon for gas in November, I think it's going to be a very bad day for Republicans.
I agree with you, and that's because gas prices are the most relevant, timely, and important economic metric that regular Americans look at when they think about who they want to be in power and in leadership. And there is nothing that tells you more about whether your financial situation is better than how much you're paying at the gas pump. And you can compare that to the previous election cycle 2 years ago. Let's not forget that President Trump was elected into office, and voters gave Republicans control of the House and the Senate precisely because they wanted a change. They wanted to see prices come down from, the Biden era highs, which were 20% higher than in the past. And so, in 2025, we saw tremendous cuts in prices. I mean, we saw prices really fall where the headline inflation rate had dipped down to, I believe, maybe under 3%, in the 2.4, 2.5 range. And things were really, that meant that you were keeping more of your paycheck. Finally, paychecks had outrun inflation. And so people felt like, okay, I can get a handle on this. At the grocery store, you saw the, chips, Frito-Lay, for example, print new lower prices on their chips bags because prices were falling. And so now we've seen, we're now, 4 months in almost to this war with Iran. And we've seen that the gas prices have a direct impact both at the gas pump, but we also have seen those prices filter out to the rest of the economy. And to your point about the summer, I mean, people are going to start making decisions, Kevin, about whether they take that long trip, which is going to require them gassing up multiple times. People are going to be looking at the fuel, whether they buy an airline ticket. When airline prices have increased, we've also seen airlines tack on all these new fees to accommodate the fuel cost increases. And so, going into the fall, those are going to be really strong headwinds. And I do agree that even when the Strait of Hormuz reopens, it's understandable. While you have all those oil tankers there ready to flow out, it will take weeks to clear the logjam that is at that choke point to be able to get global prices kind of coming back down, especially back to where they were before this conflict started. It's
almost as though you would like to have the U.S. not participate in the global oil exchanges, because if we were just running our own deal, we could cut these prices quick based on our own production. I mean, the president announced yesterday that we are doubling Russia and Saudi Arabia combined in total output this year. And then when you heard Besant and a lot of the other guys talking about, the Small Business Administration and other people that were around the table talking about job creation, which is off the charts. Companies are hiring more. They're doing more. There's a lot of very positive activity going on in the economy, but you don't get the gas price down. There's a psychological impact on that doesn't seem to, and they say that even with the war, the big beautiful bill has overcome the challenge of those gas prices, and people still effectively got a raise in Q1.
Absolutely.
But if you don't feel like you got a raise, it doesn't matter if you got it or not. It's how much do I feel it as opposed to what it actually is.
Well, and that cushion, the tax refunds, which were, I believe, the largest in history, up
3,300 on average.
Exactly. That was great, and it provided a very nice cushion for the past few months, but that cushion has kind of flattened out. And so when we're looking at some of the consumer spending data that just came out this morning, we're seeing that consumers, if you're wealthy, if you're on the higher income levels, you're still continuing to spend because you're not spending your income can keep ahead of inflation. It's those middle and lower class families and households who are squeezed right now, Kevin, who are making those real essential decisions about whether they're buying gas to get to work or whether they're cutting back on the groceries, whether they're deciding not to pick up that prescription. And so, it's really important that we can get gas prices down, and then the larger, those prices will filter across the rest of the prices we pay on food and other things. Right. But especially for those low-income households that are really struggling because they disproportionately spend more of their incomes on things like gas and housing and shelter, those really basic essential needs.
Well, I'm hopeful, and I said this in my column yesterday, that we will have a decision and that this Iranian issue will be cared for. And if it is cared for by July 4th, I feel like we can enter into 250 with a huge celebration and have even more reason to cheer when the fall rolls around. But I am starting to get concerned that is not the case. And that's not being critical of the president. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's the bottom line. And if it costs him his presidency or the parties in Congress to ensure that that's the case, I will grit my teeth and say it's still worth it. But I don't want to have to lose all the good stuff that's going on too. Because the truth is also this, Patrice, if Congress does switch parties in the fall, a lot of these gains that we have worked and bled and sweat tears over to get to happen will attempt to be undone by people who want to come in and instead of continuing the agenda, they want to obstruct, investigate, have fake impeachment hearings. We've seen all the playbook before. We don't need 2 years of that kind of wasted time.
That's right. And then in 2 years from then, especially if the American people don't feel like there was enough to show for it, imagine the president, the White House, and both houses of Congress shifting over. They can absolutely undo legislation that was passed, which, we're up against a big headwind.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next. That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com. Grateful to have you with us. We never put anything behind the paywall because we want you to have access to all of it because we want to impact how you think and help you think more clearly and help you have resources to help others think more clearly because I feel like clarity is one of those virtues that kind of surpasses everything else. If you can be clear about truth in your own life for yourself, there's a lot that you can do to impact the world around you. And that's probably one of the messages that's going to be reiterated many, many times at the upcoming Educators Summit for the Turning Point Education Division. We spoke with Hertzberg last week, and Scott Phelps joins us this week. He is part of the Success Sequence program teaching abstinence until marriage, and Scott is a longtime friend. In fact, when I was just a local host in Chicago a long time ago, Scott, I think I was producing for Sandy Rios.
You were producing for Sandy Rios, and then you had your own show, and I was on Sandy's show and your show.
Yeah. And then I moved to New York, and your daughter worked for our radio station. And it's like we've just known each other forever. So thank you for all that you've done. And this, I think, the importance of this summit, and if you want to know more about it, it's turningpointed.com. Turning Point Ed, you could think about it like that way, turningpointed.com. I think that when you're talking about education reform, and I've been approached in recent weeks by homeschool groups and charter school groups and people that are working hard to reform classrooms and teachers' unions and all kinds of things. I'm not this is how it should be done to the exclusion of everything else and one size fits all for everybody. I've never thought that, partly because my own educational path went through public school, Christian school experience that wasn't that good, homeschool experience for a couple of years, and then eventually back into the Christian school system when my mom was contracting cancer and she actually ended up dying my junior year of high school. But I know that kids learn in different ways, and this is what I say on the show all the time. It is not the teacher's responsibility. It is not the school district's responsibility. It is not anybody else's responsibility to see to it that your children are properly educated. It is your responsibility. And if they're in the public school classroom, then you know what they're being taught, and you are engaging that, and you're talking about it, and you're flushing it out with them. But if they're in your home, you're doing it in your home. You got to do the same thing. So, having said that, what I like about Turning Point's program is that it looks like what you guys are going to do here in a couple of weeks is have resources available for people that span the gamut. So educators, parents, pastors, Christian educators, public school educators, wherever you are on the spectrum, there's going to be encouragement, instruction, motivation, challenge that's going to help you in the process. Am I misreading that?
No, that's absolutely right. And you've probably seen the list of speakers, Kevin. 28 speakers. I mean, it's
some
amazing.
Real lightweight blowhards like Al Mohler,
Yeah, they've got Al Mohler and John Stone Street and Megan Basham, Riley Gaines, Erica Kirk, Congresswoman Mary Miller. She's fantastic. Hertzberg will be one of the speakers. Erwin Lutzer, John Amanachuku. Scott Phelps. It's going to be, seriously, it is really going to be great. And the thing I want to point out I love Turning Point Education. I have told Hutz, who's a good friend, if I wasn't doing what I was doing now, I would want to be doing what he is doing. I think it's absolutely fundamental. It's the educational system in America absolutely needs to be overhauled. And Turning Point Education is on mission, right? That is their primary mission, is to revive the American educational system and bring it back to its roots and God honoring and putting God at the center of everything that we're doing with our kids, because you think about what the kids are suffering through. You hear all this stuff about mental illness, right? And depression and suicide and all of that. And well, of course, we shouldn't be surprised at that, right? We've removed God from the center of culture, from the center of education, and our kids are lost. And so I love the theme of this conference. It's called Courage in Our Convictions, Cultivating Clarity in Chaos. Kevin, that's what they need. Yeah. They need clarity in the chaos, right? And that's what Turning Point Education is all about. That's what our ministry is all about. That's why we partner with Turning Point. We're privileged and thrilled to be partnering with Turning Point. We have since they began. And Charlie was so good. I think one of the reasons, Kevin, why Charlie impacted so many people is just what you were saying just a moment ago, the clarity of truth. He was so good at cutting through the noise and lifting up the truth with clarity. And so that's what this conference is all about.
And doing it in a winsome way. That
absolutely.
If you watch any amount of his videos from his college visits, you had really hostile kids stepping up to the microphone. He's Scott Phelps. I'm Kevin McCullough. If you want more information, it's turningpointed.com, turningpointed.com.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
back, ladies and gentlemen. That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com. Everything there, never behind a paywall. We always want you to have access to all the good stuff that we do. And you've already heard from our next guest earlier in the show, their brand new song, Parking Lot, which comes from an album titled Turpentine Mind Side A. Welcome back, Zach White and Maggie. We always appreciate you guys being with us. Sometimes you're able to talk to us. Sometimes we just get to hear your music, but it's always fun to have you.
Thank you, Kevin. So good to be back.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I love the way you just go for the obvious, the non-esoteric, just in-your-face titles on whatever it is that you're doing. Please explain for the less initiated what the Turpentine Mind is.
So it comes from a lyric in one of the songs that'll come out on side B, the basically the full album release, which will be in August, last Wednesday in August. And I don't know, turpentine is such a fascinating substance to me. You know, obviously people think of it these days around art, used as a paint thinner, but it's also been used as medicine. It's been used as lamp fuel. It's so fascinating. So
not that it should have been used as a medicine,
that's
but it
true,
has been.
Exactly.
And probably shouldn't be used as lamp fuel now. But yes.
Probably not. But it has been throughout history, and sometimes I feel like the variety of songs that we like to sing about, and the most common question I feel like we get when they go, people listen to our songs is, where'd you come up with that idea? And
right.
I figured, well, something as diverse as turpentine might describe what's going on in these brains.
Well, for people that may go, wait a minute, do I know them from somewhere? Yes, they've had a couple of fun LPs out already. But you also, if you are familiar with the Keith and Kristen Getty touring group, they've been part of every Christmas tour, every hymns tour for the last number of years. In fact, I believe that you two met in the Getty band. Is that correct?
Actually, before that, we were both at Belmont, and we met in the Bluegrass Ensemble at Belmont.
Very
so
good.
A match made in Nashville.
Well, one of you was working for Getty before the other one, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I started in
Take a guess. Between the two of us, which would you hire first, Kevin?
Yeah.
I started in 2012.
All right.
And then I weaseled my way in just not long after.
If you've been to any of the live shows, you know that these are two incredibly talented musicians, and I think it's so fun that you have your own thing going on in simultaneous concert with them, because you really bring a lot to what they do, but you also have this kind of, let's just call it, fun and imaginative side that you don't we don't get a lot of this in music anymore. And I was thinking about you guys actually as, and don't be insulted by this because some people are, but as the American Idol season was winding down, and Hannah Harper was sprinting to the finish, she is a bluegrass musician from a church-going family that did bluegrass music their entire life. I believe she plays the same little gadget you've got there.
Oh yeah,
Maggie.
Mandolin
to the violin, but mandolin, and all of the people in the family play stuff. There is a capacity and an appetite for what you guys are turning out on that level. But you like to have fun. What goes into your songwriting styles? We're going to hear songs on this album that cover what types of stories and narratives.
Yeah. So this album specifically, there's kind of a sub-context about friendship. That was kind of the main thing. Maybe it's being in our 30s, and friendships kind of change in an interesting way as people start to have families and things of that sort. But it also feels like it's a national conversation right now to talk about the loneliness epidemic and things of that sort.
Yeah, it's true.
So I wanted to write a whole bunch of songs that just showed different lights on the ideas of friendship. Parking Lot Vacation, a little bit less of that one, but the other song we'll do, To the End, was kind of the impetus for the rest of them that way. It's literally about sticking by friends, even when you have disagreements. I think it's so vital that part of being in a relationship with people, even in friendship, is recognizing our differences and working together through that. So there's some of that side, but then there's also a lot of, I can't help but write a joke. I've tried over and over. The amount of times Keith Getty has asked me to write a hymn for them, and I just can't avoid putting some quippy little line in there. It's why nobody's singing my songs on a Sunday morning. Sunday night all the time, but Sunday morning, maybe not.
The hymn sing request, the Zach White's tunes get requested often.
Right. But so we've got fun ones. Like one of my favorites that just released on the new record is called Buddha from Mascuda. And it's mostly about the experiential wisdom from friends of an older age, people I grew up with, using the framework of like an old farmer in this small town outside St. Louis where I grew up.
Although it started by us going to visit his family, and we would always pass by Mascuda, Illinois. And he just says, it'd be really funny to have a song called Buddha from Mascuda. And I didn't think much else of it. And then he appeared one day with the song.
There you go. And friends, you're watching. You just saw some of the sausage get made there. That's how it happens.
That's it. But it's a real fun time. I mean, the second half of the album that'll come out in August starts to get even a little bit weirder. I mean, we have a song about a bear that fought in World War II on this.
Well, true or not, you have a presidential historical figure highlighted in one of the songs. Which one?
Yeah.
So that'll be coming out the first Wednesday in August, just before the full album. And it's about President William Taft. Because I love William Taft.
One of the all-time well-known presidents.
That's the whole reason, Kevin. I decided to write a song about it. Because most people only know him for one thing, getting stuck in the bathtub.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they might know that the 1912 election with him and Teddy Roosevelt, where they split the ticket. But what most people don't know is they were almost professionally best friends before that. And then they ended up fighting against each other after. The story ends well, and that there seems to have been a reconciliation. But anywho, Taft always wanted to be a judge, so I wrote a song about him because he's the only person. Yeah, he was the only person who was both president and Supreme Court justice. Only man that's ever done that. And he was Supreme Court justice after his presidency.
Right.
So the kind of joke and the fantasy song version is, and we'll have an amazing video for this, where I play William Taft stuck in the bathtub, but also stuck in this political career I do not wish to have.
Maggie, did he ask permission before starring as Taft in the bathtub? I don't know how. If I proposed that to my bride, I don't think she'd go for it at all. She'd be like, "Nope, not happening."
Budget constraints on actors makes it really easy for those decisions to get made.
That's how you talked her into it. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll happily hire someone for this amount of money. Yeah.
Well, it is always so much fun to have you guys on, and for this year to be playing for us live, which we've not had a ton of musicians do that, but it's a lot of fun. Anyway, take a break. Zaggy, when we come back, stay here.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Zaggy.
Blood is boiling as I drive away. Ears still pounding with the things you say. And even though my rage makes me blind, I still chuckle at that joke you said last night. If you turn your back on me, buddy, I won't go. I got yours and you've got mine. This is all I know. Good friends are hard enough to find. So know that I will stick by mine. When you settle down, I will be around, my friend, to the end. You may tell me that I've gone insane. Said we have to be the same. I can make you feel a different way, but that doesn't mean I'll run away. If you turn your back on me, buddy, I won't go. I got yours and you've got mine, and this is all I know. Good friends are hard enough to find. Know that I will stick by mine. When you settle down, I will be around, my friend, to the end. I can't carry all this pride alone. We still got a long way left to go. sometimes we might get it wrong. Remember 8th grade when your dog had died? I chose Old Yeller for movie night. If you turn your back on me, buddy, I won't go. I got yours and you've got mine. This is all I know. Good friends are hard enough to find. So know that